Coming up on Now See This.
Got smoke, got smoke.
A hotshot biker finds a bump in the road. And it's him. When a troubled kid plots a freezing plunge, rescuers put his threat on ice. And a suspect who can't find the brakes
Walk up, strutter vehicle.
can't seem to catch one either.
That was a stop sign.
They're fighting in the streets, fighting for justice, and fighting for their lives. Think you've seen it all? Now see this. For Joe McCannon, it's another Saturday night behind the wheel of old number 8. But the weekly race at the Peach State Speedway in Jefferson, Georgia is not just a personal ritual. It's a father and son tradition.
We've been racing for the last 3 years, and we run every Saturday night.
As Joe moves into second place at over 100 miles an hour, his son Michael watches from the pit.
I was my father's pit chief. I supervised most of the mechanics on the car.
They built the sportsman class orange and yellow car together, and they're confident it'll win. But with 1 lap to go, Joe makes his move to the inside, and the result is disastrous.
We're going for the checker flag, and I got in beside of him, and I think his car got loose and come down.
From only 30 feet away, Mike watches his father's horrifying wreck. In a flash, everything Mike knows about safety and common sense is forgotten. He runs across the dangerous track to help his dad. And it happens.
I was just trying to go there and make sure he was okay. I didn't feel like waiting on the ambulance to get out there.
Last thing I remember him saying was, "Dad, you're all right, you're all right." Something hit me, and I noticed out of just my corner of my eye, Michael went up in the air about 20 feet and about 30 foot out.
Somehow Joe has suffered no major injuries from either collision. But it's now his turn to fear for a family member's life. Still in shock from the crashes, he cautiously approaches Michael. He finds his son face down on the asphalt.
I asked him, was he all right, to squeeze my hand, and he didn't say nothing because he was shaking up, but he did squeeze my hand, so that was kind of a little relief to me.
The whole experience being thrown down the track is actually something I don't remember.
When Mike tries to get up on his own, he's held down by a track official until he can be examined. A stretcher arrives, and within minutes he's flown to a hospital. What his doctors find is unbelievable.
Luckily, I didn't sustain any injuries. All I sustained was some really bad road rash and some pulled muscles, and just bumps and bruises actually. But I was at home, within 24 hours.
Although his father's car gets slammed at freeway speeds, Mike doesn't suffer a single broken bone or internal injury. It's practically a medical miracle, considering the price he could have paid for letting the emotional bonds of family overtake reason and sound judgment. Joe and Mike McCannon both know how lucky they were that night. They've since rebuilt old number 8, but they also have some advice for other racing families.
If you race, please let the professionals take care of the wrecks. Don't jump the wall. It's very dangerous.
If you're in racing, chain your son down.
There's no checkered flag on this track, no trophy to be won. These sports cyclists aren't taking turns at top speed to attract big-name sponsors. They're not even professionals, and they're not the only ones on this road. This is an open highway right in the center of Maribor, Slovenia. And the bikers are just a group of 17-year-olds training for the day they're eligible to join the competitive circuit. As their friends watch, the aspiring pros twist the throttle and practice taking their bikes to extreme speeds. But this young rider is about to find out why the real pros don't train on public roads. The teenager leans in too far as he races around the curve. His bike crashes down and slides right into the path of a speeding motorist. The driver doesn't even have time to slow down. Traffic stops, and horrified witnesses rush to check on the young man. Minutes later, an ambulance races past the long line of rubberneckers to get to the road-ravaged victim. Paramedics are surprised to find he's still breathing. But the real surprise comes once they get the battered teen to the hospital. After falling off his bike at full speed, scraping across the hardtop, and being completely run over by both sets of a car's tires, the boy comes away with only a few minor cuts and bruises. No internal bleeding, not one broken bone. And in the end, his ambition to emulate the big league bikers may be what saved his life. Because even though he was practicing in the wrong place, he was wearing the right gear. Thanks to his full-body suit and helmet, maybe one day he'll get another chance to take his ambitions off the road and onto the track. When people turn vigilante, it's because they don't want to deal with a courtroom. But the streets are another kind of courtroom, where the public can judge both accused and accuser. Istanbul's street vendor Deniz Tosun was just caught and tied up by a father and son. But the crowd interceded, allowing Tosun to free himself. The father has accused Tosun of accosting his daughter, and now he's out for revenge. The son is also eager to dish out their harsh brand of street justice. Tosun denies even knowing his sister, but the family isn't convinced. If Tosun is lying, they could murder him and it would be considered an honor killing, which carries a minimum sentence under Turkish law. But still, bystanders plead with the men to break it up. They understand why the family is mad, but they believe Tosun may be telling the truth and disapprove of the father's brutal methods of revenge. For the moment, the crowd prevails as the father and son get back into their van. But a news crew has stumbled upon the fight, and they're eager to get the full story.
Peki neden kaçırdın çocuğu? Arkadaşım bu devletin namussuzlara savunmasına tamam. Niye koyuyorsun? Bir dakika abi bir dakika. Niye çocuğu kaçırdın? Çocuk yok arabaya bağlı. Orospu çocuk ona yardakçılık yapanlara sorun bunu. Karakol yok mu? Ağlama da götür karakol. Ayaklarını niye bağladınız peki çocuğun? Asacaktım. Polis yok mu burada ya?
Meanwhile, Tosun is also demanding justice.
Ya bunlar teröristler! Polis yok mu lan? Var.
Tosun considers himself to be the victim, and he'll do anything he can to keep the van from leaving before police arrive. The incensed Tosun hurls a brick through the van's front window. But the move only makes things worse when the son chases after Tosun on the crowded street. Another man rushes to separate the enemies. The father and son walk away, but Tosun continues to profess his innocence.
Niye kaçırdılar bir dakika ya? Ya niye kaçırdılar seni? Bilmiyorum ya. Niye kaçırdılar seni? Bilmiyorum. Bilmiyorum. Ya niye diyorsun? Z'ye 34 Z'ye.
The group of bystanders has seen the events unfold, and now even they want the father and son vigilante team to be held accountable for their actions.
Ya adamlar alıp kaçırdılar ya çocuğu. Biliyorum o yüzden ya.
While the van is stuck in traffic, Tosun searches desperately for a police officer. Another bystander sees a police van and flags it down.
Bak bak polis gel. Yok. Abi. Şuna bak şu vatandaşa bak. Abi niye hala abi? Şu arabayı niye hala Allah razı olsun. Adam aldı kaçırdılar.
Tosin points out his assailants to the officers. At long last, the law is involved, and Tosin will be able to tell his side of the story. Although Tosin will have to stand trial for the allegations made against him, he will get to defend himself this time in a court of law. But the father and son vigilante team has already lost in the court of public opinion. It's 0 degrees in Oswego, New York, and a young boy's outlook is just as bleak. An hour ago, the 10-year-old ran away from home. When he tried to cross the frozen Oswego River, he found himself at the edge of a fragile shelf of ice. Now, he refuses to move. While a police psychologist tries to engage him from shore, rescue personnel carefully inch toward him on the ice.
And I got within 20, 30 feet of him, and the little boy told me to stop or he was going to jump.
His rescuers know that his behavior is more a cry for help than a genuine threat. After all, it's not his first time.
When he gets in trouble, he's on his way. It's gonna be all right, buddy. Don't be gonna get hurt, yeah.
But the young boy has no idea how dangerous his situation really is. The ice he's standing on is extremely brittle, and the current under his feet is very swift.
The problem with this is it creates a soft ice situation where the ice never really forms well, coupled with the fact that you've got current that's running underneath the ice. So if you were to fall in it, you could be swept underneath the ice and literally lost in the river.
You're waiting for any second for that ice just to break underneath them.
To make matters worse, the boy's backpack is stuffed with his possessions, weighing him down even more. He could sink straight to the bottom. Suddenly, he makes a terrifying move.
Here he goes. Just stay there! Don't go in there! You're back! Stay where you are!
Rescuers realize that if they're going to prevent a tragedy, they'll have to act fast.
We decided to make an aggressive rescue, and the chief gave orders to go ahead and to use the boat.
As the personnel on the shore and on the ice try to distract the boy, an inflatable rescue craft motors toward him from upriver.
We had some open water to work with, and we were hoping that in getting the boat involved, we would at least have some viable means of quickly getting to him in case there was an emergency.
The agitated boy takes another step.
John, what did you do? Because you got some type of like solar.
From across the river, floodlights come on, lighting the scene for the approaching two-man rescue crew. They'll have to strike quickly and precisely.
Get him! Get him! Get him! All right. Let's go. All right. Hold on, they're struggling with it.
But the boy puts up a surprising amount of resistance, and the edge of the ice sways ominously under the group's weight. The determined rescue swimmers eventually overpower him.
We motored right up onto the ice where he grabbed the boy, and I pulled both of those people back into the boat.
For now, the boy is safe. He's taken to the hospital for evaluation. He's now in therapy and doing much better. This troubled boy thought he could solve his problems by running away from them. It may have gotten the attention he craved, but he had no idea how tragically it might have ended. Fortunately, others did, and they acted fearlessly to bring a confused child back from the edge. Sometimes a disaster can produce the unlikeliest heroes. A special water-scooping helicopter has crashed while fighting brush fires in Australia's Capital Territory. Responding is another chopper, but it doesn't carry rescue personnel or even a news crew. On board this helicopter are two nationally known politicians. They were monitoring the firefighting efforts nearby when they heard the mayday signal of Duncan Patrick, who now lies unconscious in the slowly sinking craft. Another helicopter has already dropped a rescue diver into the water, but his chopper doesn't have a hoist, so the diver will have to free the pilot by himself and then carry him 120 feet to the shore. An almost impossible task. The two politicians ordered their pilot to land. They know that if the rescuer doesn't get help, he and the victim could both drown. 52-year-old John Stanhope, Chief Minister of the Territory, strips down to his underwear and plunges in. Somehow, rescue diver Ewan Mackenzie has pulled the pilot from the now sunken chopper. But keeping Patrick's head above water is a struggle he's losing. With no life jacket on and with saturated clothes, the unconscious pilot is essentially dead weight. When John Stanhope arrives, he quickly relieves the exhausted Mackenzie. Within moments, the second politician, Chief Fire Control Officer Peter Lucas Smith, has joined the effort. The men don't even know if the pilot is alive, but if he is, he has to be treated immediately. But even working as a team, it's still tough going. The office holders are not trained rescue swimmers, but they slog along until they finally reach the water's edge. The pilot's limp body is dragged ashore. He appears lifeless. But a cursory examination reveals a pulse. His vitals may be weak, but Duncan Patrick is clinging to life. As Ewan Mackenzie performs mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, John Stanhope applies external heart massage. For several minutes, they continue their efforts. Then, a miracle. Although he's still unconscious, Duncan's breathing gets deeper and deeper.
Keep it going, mate. Well done.
From the other side of the reservoir, a crew of paramedics row in. They quickly get Duncan stabilized and prepare him for the helicopter ride to the nearest hospital. John Stanhope makes sure the victim is secure, and they're off. Duncan spends the next 10 days in a coma, but eventually makes a complete recovery. When tragedy strikes, you'll find most politicians showing up only after the danger is gone. But John Stanhope and Peter Lucas Smith didn't hesitate to dive in and take their roles as public servants to a new level.
He went through the toll plaza at an extreme rate of speed. I'd say over 80, 90 miles an hour.
Andrew Asher Walters has plenty of skeletons in his closet. He's driving with a suspended license and violating his probation. Now that he's running from police, he's also guilty of felony evasion. But police think the 23-year-old fugitive and his anonymous passenger may have something even bigger to hide: first-degree murder. Walters is a primary suspect in a botched bank robbery that happened 2 weeks earlier in Tampa, Florida. In that failed heist, an innocent bystander and father of 4 was shot and killed.
These guys are wanted for a homicide. They're considered extremely dangerous, and definitely they want to get this car stopped one way or another.
After 20 minutes of chase, Walters is still on the loose, speeding through residential Miami at close to 100 miles an hour. And although he hasn't been formally charged with the crime, his instinct to flee bolsters police suspicion that he has ties to the homicide.
They've got 37th Avenue blocked north and south, so they're keeping him going towards the east.
Unmarked cruisers follow close behind the suspect as he races through the streets of Miami-Dade County. He tries to outmaneuver police, hopping a median as though his life depended on it.
There's a very dangerous scene right now going on.
And if he is guilty of murder, his life just might depend on it.
And they've also got police going on the wrong side of the road here trying to get this vehicle stopped.
Police cruisers surround the fugitive on all sides. Some cops dare to race into opposite lanes of traffic in hopes of speeding ahead of the suspect.
Oh yeah, they're definitely trying to block some in here.
Another officer in a gray unmarked car tries to force Walters to a stop by physically blocking his path.
They're working on boxing him in. He's having none of it.
The move only heads the suspect across the divider and into oncoming lanes. A cruiser follows close behind as the fugitive makes the wrong way his right-of-way.
This is on the wrong side of the road here.
But whether he knows it or not, he's making another statement. If he's killed before, he just might kill again. So far, no innocent civilians have been hit by the reckless suspect. But that's about to change.
Heading into a lot of traffic here. He's climbing on the sidewalk. Oh, struck a vehicle.
Police decide it's time to stop the suspect by force. Walters makes one more desperate run for freedom, bowling onto the sidewalk when gridlock gets in his way. He sees an exit up ahead, the entrance to a parking lot at Miami-Dade University.
And they're now in the parking lot of the university.
But the open lot is the perfect spot for police to make their move. And one cop sees exactly how to use the terrain to his advantage.
Yeah, I would imagine they're going to really try something now. That was a stop sign.
The officer swerves and forces the suspect into a row of concrete parking blocks, shredding his left tires down to their rims. With his hopes of freedom dashed, Andrew Walters is dragged from his car at gunpoint. It takes over 6 officers to do the job, but the police subdue the outlaw. And whether he's ready or not, he's finally forced to face up to his past. The suspect's female companion is also handcuffed. Innocent or not, her association with such a wanton criminal warrants her arrest. In the end, over 30 police cruisers from 2 counties converged to put an end to this pursuit. But it only took one swerve to poke a hole in his tires and his getaway plan. Now that he's in custody, Andrew Ashton Walters will be indicted for first-degree murder and armed robbery. And the Tampa homicide detectives will finally get the answers they've been looking for. Before drug smugglers' boats can make it to the shores of the United States, they need to get past these guys. And getting past the U.S. Coast Guard is no small task. But smugglers don't give up easily. With millions of dollars in contraband at stake, it often takes lethal force for the Coast Guard to get the boats to stop. This boat was tracked down by a Coast Guard helicopter just off the coast of Florida. The chopper has been chasing the smugglers for hours. But after getting the okay from their superiors on shore to fire warning shots, the crew unloads a few hundred rounds just a few feet ahead of the boat's hull. The bullets strafe the waters in front of the speeding boat, and the smugglers get the message to stop. Just like that, the chase is over. But not all drug boat interceptions are pulled off this easily. Off the coast of St. Petersburg, Florida, the Coast Guard cutter Decisive has intercepted this Colombian drug-running boat called the Kone. The crew has been given approval to fire warning shots from the cutter's main cannon. 3-man team aims the gun and moves into striking position. The cutter is equipped with military-grade weapons, and the skilled crew knows how to use their weapons with precision. The shells land in the water just beyond the bow of the Kone. But the Kone is not responding to the warning shots. It's now up to the crew of the Decisive to stop the boat using decisive force. A .50 caliber machine gun mounted on the side of the cutter is aimed toward the drug ship's engines. Because both vessels are being tossed about by 4-foot waves, hitting the Kone's engine compartment is even more difficult than it seems. But with a little bit of skill, and a lot of dogged persistence.
All right.
A direct hit is made.
Got smoke, got smoke. All right! Good shot.
They've taken out the Kone's main engines. In just moments, the ship is dead in the water. The crew of the Decisive boards the ship, and what they find makes Coast Guard history. Over 100 bales of marijuana is stashed below the Kone's deck. The total street value is over $31 million. Luckily, this Coast Guard cutter has the firepower and the speed to overtake this drug-laden ship. But sometimes it's the drug boat that has the speed advantage.
Turn away, break it away, break it away! On the floor!
The Coast Guard cutter Chandler can't match the slick moves of this smuggler's speedboat. The cutter has sent out a rigid hull inflatable raft to try and cut off the suspects. But it isn't working. The speedboat races alongside the cutter as the suspects taunt the Chandler's crew. Suddenly, one of the suspects throws a package into the water. They're disposing of the evidence. The Chandler's crew has to stop the suspects before it's all gone. They also know they won't be able to do it on their own. That's why the Coast Guard keeps an ace up their sleeve. A Jayhawk helicopter has arrived to intercept the suspects. On board is a sniper with a high-powered rifle, aimed right at the suspects' engines.
Bales in the water, bales in the water.
While the drug runners continue to dump evidence, the crew of the Chandler cheers their airborne comrades giving chase. They have. The chopper is part of the Coast Guard's helicopter interdiction tactical squadron called Hitron, and they have a 100% success rate. It's a record that stays intact. Within seconds, the stopped drug boat is being dealt with by the Hitron team. The United States Coast Guard knows that they are the nation's first line of defense.
Get hit. Got smoke, got smoke. Good shot.
That's why for so many criminals like these, it's the last line they ever cross.